Maybe one of the biggest upsets in Springbok history as Italy walk away the victors in this international. And big smiles are from the captain, Sergio Paris, and for the Springboks, well, maybe the talking to that they need has come a little too late in this match, with the Italians walking away 2018 victors. And you can see the big smiles on the face, clearly a scalp that they wanted and led valiantly by this man over here. Gentlemen, really disappointing display.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say. It is, yeah, I think we had an all-time low. You know, it's obviously been coming for a while. We had very poor results last year. We continued with poor results this year, and yeah, it's not good. I think the big question is, how do we solve this? You know, how do we get solutions for what's going on at the moment? Because certainly it's terrible.
You know, it's you find yourself always in a position when you know, you're just looking at that, and it's like Jean asked the question, what do you do? We asked the question last week. You know, it's fine to say it happened, but why is it happening? Why are we in this situation? And you know, sometimes you've got to look at it and say, you know what? Maybe we did make the wrong calls. Maybe we did make the wrong appointments. Maybe it is time to clean up the game structure-wise. And we don't want to jump on the bandwagon and just sit here and criticize, because we're all quite devastated. You know, I'm still amazed to think that that's the way we can play. And we've seen it coming, and it's first 40 minutes, and then you think, wait, you know, we can still get through this game, and we can still win it. And then at the end, you know, if they didn't call that last line out to go to the TMO, it could have been a bigger score. But, you know, that's not the point. The point is we're not playing good rugby for the whole year. We're struggling. We talk about defence every week. We talk about attack. We talk about the kicking game. We talk about everything every single week. And as I said to Nick before we went on air, it's, you know, somewhere along the line, you've got to have somebody to motivate somebody, you know, and seriously to say, but boys, you need to stop this. Because at the end, it's a whole team. It's a coaching staff, it's a playing staff, it's everybody that needs to, somebody needs now to take responsibility and say, you know what, maybe I've made a mistake and that's the end of it. But this we can't accept.
Nick, what do you think of that second half display?
Yeah, again, you know, I'm just very similarly to after the disappointment of losing to Japan. It's unfortunately a similar state that I never expected South African rugby to be in. I never ever thought that this proud nation of fantastic rugby players and players that won a World Cup in 2007, beat the All Blacks in 2009 3 out of 3 times. Have had probably 7, 8, 9 players who would have been in a World 15, around 207 to 209. And, you know, we've got ourselves into a position where we can't, you know, we haven't beaten Japan and we're losing to Italy, and don't look anywhere near capable of beating Australia. Well, Australia at home we beat, but New Zealand and England on our performances recently. 13 tries we conceded, 9 against New Zealand, 4 against England. Today, you know, 2, but very nearly another one, I think, at the end. So I was sitting there thinking, it's so easy to blame the coach, and it's so easy to blame, you know, because that's always the person you turn to. But the structures in South African rugby have you know, not worked in favour of keeping our players in this country, of making sure that our best players are coached by the best people, and the sort of turnover and churning of and indecision has led to a team that doesn't look as though, quite frankly, they know where they're going. You know, they really do look like a team that's lost confidence, lost belief in themselves, lost belief in their coaching staff, perhaps as well. And we're in a very, very low place at the moment. And I just feel desperately sorry for the players, and I feel very sorry for the coaching staff, because, I mean, there's 7 of them now. You know, they got people to come and help, but that doesn't solve things. You know, it's, I don't think there's one South African player who'd get into any World 15 at the moment. And so it's not a good Springbok side. And unfortunately, we're not seeing them being coached in a way that is making the best out of our abilities. So we're in a real terrible place at the moment, and it's very, very disappointing. But South African rugby, remember, in 2002, I think, went on a tour overseas, and it was coached by Australia, and the team lost by 20-odd points to France, went away, got badly to Scotland, and then got beaten by 50 points by England. So there have been periods in the South African past where we've been down and out, and one can only hope that we can pick up our heads and get out of this.
It really is disconcerting, Brady, because this is the best team that we could put against the Azzurri. And you can see even the Italian faces and the fans, the excitement, because they believe that they've beat the best of our best.
Well, they made history today, and congratulations to, you know, the Azzurri, Italy, for beating us for the very first time. So it's a sad day for South African rugby, you know, and we had some low times in the past. I've also been involved in that game that Nick spoke about in England when we lost, you know, 50 points, but we managed to get it back. The signs were there, you know, leading up to this game as well. The signs were there. There haven't been a development of good play and progressiveness going into this game. And you know, the coaching staff, I really feel sorry for them. I'm sure the players are going to be embarrassed by today's performance. And somehow we need to find solutions. At the moment, it's not a short-term fix, I feel. It's going to take a while, but some serious, you know, questions need to be asked. And we need answers in the next couple of weeks going forward. We need almost like a brainstorm. And, you know, well done again to Italy for beating the Boks today, and they deserve it.
It's also sort of like that conservative mindset that has seeped into the team. For example, when Italy were 14 men down and we only put 3 points against them, you know, it's almost like the confidence is gone.
Yeah, well, it was very different when they started, and I think that's the key, in that you don't change a mindset just in a week's time. You know, that's a process that you need to continue and work on continuously. So, you know, we started off with a very good mindset of spreading the ball and scored some nice tries. Then suddenly, when the pressure comes up, you know, then you get very, very narrow-minded, and your vision gets narrowed, and suddenly you don't make decisions anymore. You go back to what you used to, which is tacking, going forward. We started making mistakes. They could just kick the ball downfield and put us under pressure, and again, that pressure told in the way that we played. So yeah, look, it's the big thing, we need to change. Something needs to change, and it's actually not something, a lot needs to change for us to be able to go forward again. So the time is now to see if we are willing to do that on all fronts, because everyone needs to take responsibility of this, and if we do that, then we have a possibility of getting it back on track again.
But Nick, how do you pick it apart? Where do you even start at this stage?
Well, I think we've got to look at this whole year in context. I think apart from the Lions, South African rugby is in a very, very depressing place. The rugby that we saw in Super Rugby, we had, you know, the Stormers got beaten convincingly when they played at home in what was essentially a quarter-final. The Sharks didn't qualify. We had the Cheetahs not performing at all well. The Bulls battled. So our franchises haven't performed well. We're losing a lot of players. In the past, we used to lose players when they were at the end of their career to go and earn money as a retirement. For a number of years now, we're losing players who are in the prime of their life. You know, the best players, young players, Jacques Duplessis. We've got Willems, who goes to the lock, who is playing over for Montpellier. We've got Kitsoff, who's overseas. We've got guys like Stander playing for Ireland, Vierpianel playing for Scotland. I mean, these are sort of South African players who would be very, very good in Super Rugby franchises and be able to give us a bit of strength and depth in this country. So, you know, without wanting to talk, because we want to deal with what goes on with what's on the field.
Yeah.
And, but unfortunately what goes on the field is a reflection of what goes on off the field. And how our rugby has been structured in the past, you know, I don't think it gives us the best chance to be as competitive as we possibly can. We've already seen that the All Blacks are a team that is a top-down with the national side put first, and the coaches get together and they discuss who the best players are, and they contract from the top 150 rugby players in South Africa. You know, we don't have that system in this country. So unless we get those structures right, make sure we keep our best young players, make sure we improve our coaching, because you can't suddenly play, you know, a brand of rugby like the All Blacks if you haven't been practicing it in Super Rugby. It's only only the Lions are the only team that have been playing the style of rugby that is a winning style of rugby under the present conditions. And whenever we're under pressure, and as John has just mentioned, our tendency is to go back to what we know in South Africa. And what we know in South Africa is defending well, set pieces, and play off 9, forwards off 9. So there has to be an absolutely massive mindset shift to get our Super Rugby teams. The Currie Cup showed the way a little bit with the Cheetahs, the way they played, and the Bulls also under Nollis Murray trying to play a more expansive game. But you also have to take good decisions. Play a good, expansive game, but take good decisions. Kick when you have to kick at the right time. Kick into space. Kick in order to recover the ball. Use width of the field with the attack when there's space out wide. When people are stretched out wide, do the pick and goes. And your players have to be coached how to do this. Your defence. Look how good the Italian defence was today. Yeah. Now, they were good not only because they were well organised, but because our attack was so simplistic. It's very easy to defend against a simplistic attack. You just have to be brave. And against South Africa, you just had to be brave today.
Well, those are the thoughts from the panel here in studio. Our team is also standing by in Florence. Here are the thoughts from Owen Kumane as well as Robbie Kempson.
Italy, disappointing result for the Springboks, 20 points to 18. Robbie Kempson, change is the way forward.
There's going to have to be some sort of a change, whether it's coaching staff or the complement thereof, or if it's players. Something's got to give, and unfortunately, you know, as much can be said during the week about taking accountability. Well, now's the time to be accountable.
Rightly so. Talk is cheap. Look at it. Set piece. They talked about it throughout the whole year, saying it's one of the best in the world. But set piece, clearly, it is not enough for international rugby. For the Italians, wow, they were brilliant. Showed a lot of passion. Defense is solid. They were good with ball in hand.
They were brave. They got an advantage down. Yes, they got away with a lot at the breakdown, but the referee allowed the same for both sides. We've got someone like Brendan Fenty in South Africa who can produce what he did for Italy. Why is he not producing it for us? So many of our coaches worldwide can produce for our country, yet they're helping other teams.
The right change, that's what we're looking for. But let's raise the question. Brendan Fenty led the Indaba in South Africa. 4 or 5 weeks later, he's in charge of the Italian defence. It had to go this way.
It had to go this way, and it did. I mean, Brendan's very astute, Connor O'Shea is very astute. They've worked together and played together at London Irish. So you couldn't expect too much what was out there today. South Africa couldn't combat it. They did not take the opportunity in the first half. Could have been a different game. It wasn't a different game. The Italians came out in the second half, dominated the collisions, and they really had us on the back foot. And no, there was no plan B for South Africa. There's nothing subtly different that got us into the right positions.
We talk about plan B, but it's nothing new from a South African point of view. Looking forward, one more game left for the 2016 season. We take on Wales and Cardiff. It doesn't get any easier for this group of players and their management.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, we're going to be accountable for this. What does Alistair Coetzee do next? Where does he go to? Which players does he go to? He's got a lot of youngsters on tour. It's a time now to chop out the old guys that are making the mistakes, chop out the individuals that are making the errors, and bring in that young blood and just give them a go.
It's time to go back to the old school way of thinking. Change is required. Maybe they need to play their best game on a Monday. Whoever comes out top and still breathing, still walking on a Monday after practice will get to wear the green and gold next week when we take on Wales.
Certainly is going to be a tough one in the next match, as well as the Springboks try to pick themselves up and record at least one winner in their outbound tour. Brayton Paulser, still no variation even in the attack, and that lack of tries yet again.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lack of innovation, you know, within the box and creation, if you like, because, you know, we know there's a few players who do exist of that X factor, but unfortunately they can't express themselves. So we certainly need a plan going forward, and we need a game plan that everybody understands. At the moment, it's almost like individuals playing together, not collectively as a team, and that is our biggest downfall at the moment. So from here, obviously, it's easy now to criticize and you know, try and blame people, but we need answers. Where to from here will be the big question for Alistair Coetzee. In this game as well, again, these guys, they created opportunities, guys, and unfortunately, the crucial times, there were no composure, Nick, there were no calmness, and again, you know, it comes down to coaching after all.
Well, it comes down to confidence, belief, self-belief, and I think a lot of the time here's a lovely break, a possibility that we can get away. We've moved downfield, we've created breaks. Look, there are only 3 or 4. That's quick ball. It's got to move immediately. We've got to have players running onto the ball with confidence, and suddenly we cough it up. It wasn't a difficult pass, but those are the sort of mistakes we're making because the skills levels aren't there. And the skills levels aren't there because we've been playing for the last 7 years rugby without the ball. We've been playing rugby where we kick it and we tackle our way to a victory. Totally. And now we're having to play a game where we hold on to the ball and create chances to score. I mean, that's unbelievable we didn't score in that moment here. Again, look at the opportunities we had. I mean, unbelievable. We've got 5... Sorry, if we go back, which I don't know if you can.
Yeah, you can. Just go back there.
Just wind back with a circle. Have a look here. That's good. No, this is the knock-on, but that's right. If we go back, we just have a look at the number of players who are free out wide here. And it's a sort of lack of communication that we don't get the ball to those players who are free. The ball should be going to Combrink. It should be going a good pass. And there are 2 players still out of picture, which were Springbok players. There he is on the wing. A guy could have walked over and scored.
But, Brady, if you pause it there as well, this for me is concerning. Stop it right there.
Okay.
Look, just go back a bit.
Yeah, sure.
So if you look at the body language, language of the guys there.
Yeah.
They got a penalty.
Yeah.
But look, their heads hanging. No one wants to go and maybe look at a quick tap because they've got behind.
The guy with the hands on his head.
Guys shouting at each other and just not happy. So that I think it tells a lot about the team and where we are. So. That is a worry for me as well. Even though we create the opportunities, still sometimes you need to pick each other up and still have a bit of a vibe within the.
Is it also maybe a lack of leadership, Nas?
I mean, but it's we've all been there. That's why we can talk about this. Okay, the problem is you're sitting, the confidence is going. You're not playing well. Okay, now instead of just communicate. We don't do that because if you look at that previous move, okay, you could see Warren Whiteley's coming for the short one. He confused Venter. Instead of that ball should have just been taken, passed, we walk over at the end. But now we need to look and it's like we play a silent game and suddenly you think, okay, I can do this and I can do that. And you're absolutely right. We've said it. When you start struggling, unfortunately, you've got to look at 2 guys. You've got to. And ask John, we've been there, and Nick. You look at the coach, and you look at the captain. And unfortunately, if you look at somebody as I said to earlier, who's going to motivate me? The captain or the coach trying to get something? We see things from the side, for argument's sake, okay? Now, do you really want to tell me that message should not go from the coach to the captain and fix a little bit on what's going on the field? But it looks like we're so confused at the moment. We just actually don't know what we want.
Just, I don't want to talk about coaches and about captains because those 2 guys are feeling the worst of every single person in South Africa. Those 2 are, I guarantee it. I don't think the coach or the captain told Habana not to pass inside there. I mean, why didn't he just catch the ball and pass to Combrink inside? He got the long pass from Willie. Before taking contact, just pass it back inside and Combrink runs over and scores. I mean, these are just errors, really poor errors by a player who's had 115 test caps. There was an up and under today. He jumped up and went straight through his arms. Last week, JP Peterson dropped an up and under. Last week, Willie Leroux dropped an up and under. These are the experienced players letting the team down. So it is a side that lacks confidence, but confidence is something that has to be given to the team. And it's got to be generated by either the coach or the captain. I'm afraid they have to. One of those 2 guys has to get the players on the field with a belief that they can win this game. We're giving you a game plan against this opposition, and I believe that you guys are good enough to win. And those players will run out and they'll win the game for you. But if you're going there doubting, well, you're never going to win.
Yeah, but if you take the last, let's say, 10 minutes, okay, on a number of occasions, Italy got the ball, and all they did is they just kicked it downfield. But, it's like Jean just, pointed out. Look at the body language. Nobody's really going back to help, to get behind whoever's catching the ball and say, boys, let's start playing from here. We wait for you to do something special so we might win the game. Instead of, we stop ball watching and actually support whoever is catching the ball. If there's 5 or 6 guys behind him, of course we can start something. If there's 5 guys in front of him, he needs to go to them. And that's just the mindset.
No, we've never, no coach in South Africa has coached counter-attack in this country for the last 5 years. So when the ball gets kicked over the head of an All Black team, every single person looks at that as a try-scoring opportunity. They've given us the ball. Let's get back, all of us. Let's all get back to get into a position to run against an unstructured defence if we can. And so everyone works hard. It's not just the backs who work hard. Their forwards work hard to get back. And what we do is we watch the ball get kicked because our body language is, well, he's going to get it and he's going to kick it back. So why must I run back? Because he's never going to pass it to me. So I'm just going to... And we have trained our forwards to be lazy. They haven't worked to get back because we've never counter-attacked properly.
Jean, it's painful. You know, it's hurting. I mean, even for us as Box supporters and ex-Box players, you know, it's not nice to be able to have this conversation. I really didn't think we're going to speak about Italy beating us, you know, after what happened against Japan. What else Alistair do now going into the week? How is going to lift the players up psychologically? Because the boys will be at an all-time low. Obviously, we've seen there's basically no attack at the moment. What does he do this week now?
Yeah, look, I can only relate back to when we lost to Japan. And first of all, the disappointment doesn't come from the loss. The disappointment comes from letting your country down, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and those guys feel the same now. So for me, it wasn't because I lost to Japan. It was because the 60 million people was disappointed in the way that the Springbok team, a team that they want to support and want to associate with, let them down. You know, and I think that's what hurts. And that's why, you know, that week for me was the worst week of my life. And motivation wasn't difficult after that because you get another shot. You know, you get another shot at it, and they've got the same this week, where they're playing well. They don't need to train this week. They do not actually need to train this week. They need to get together as a team and say, well, listen, what do we stand for? Do we still cherish the Springbok jersey? And, you know, sometimes it happens. In sport, it happens. This has been coming for a while now.
Do we actually have a sports psychologist in the side?
Do we?
John, I mean, remember when we were Jake, we had, you know, Henning Gericke. Is there somebody now with them?
I don't think they've got someone at the moment. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if there is someone.
But you see, you know, we can talk now about the last year, okay? But we've still got one game, okay? But the problem for me also is we keep telling ourselves we have the players. Then we struggle. Then we have a rugby in Durban. And then we appoint 2 guys, and then we say, oh, it's all fixed. We can go on now. It doesn't work like that. You know, that's where the problem lies, Bright, is we think we're doing one decision and it will fix everything. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And as we said from day one, this should have been the guys on the fringe for Springbok colours that should have played this game, for argument's sake, okay? And now, where do you go now? Because according to what we've read and what we've seen today, this is the best 15 we could put on the park today.
And also, yeah, Nick, going to this club now, I mean, Italy got a yellow card. And we still, with 14 men, you know, we still had that mindset of getting a penalty and then we go for post.
I know.
I mean, it just shows you where our confidence is at the moment.
Well, that's exactly it. We had a crack. We kicked for the corner a few times, but their defence of the maul was outstanding. They've obviously worked hard. They know it's a strength of South Africa. So that was illegal, what they did there. But on a number of occasions, they defended it properly. We were very fortunate that Italian lock's foot went out into touch at the end because they constructed a ball at the front and they went into the 5-yard area and very nearly scored another try. So our defence off the driving maul was very poor. They scored a try against us off a driving maul. They very nearly scored a second. You know, we gave away penalties. We actually didn't look a better team than this Italian team today. Although we did create more opportunities, I think on attack in particular, but we couldn't manage to score those opportunities we created. But it's important to realise though that if you look at this team, there was an era that has stopped playing, and this is a new era, and these guys are not confident players. And they really are battling at the moment. So my view is is let them finish this tour. Whatever happens, I mean, we can't say this guy needs to resign tonight and this captain must go and all that. You wait until the end of the tour. Let's give him time to play against Wales. Then you look at the whole season holistically and look at our Super Rugby performance, the way our Super Rugby teams played, the way our Springbok side played, and then we look and see where should South African rugby go in the future to get us back to being competitive and in the top 3 in the world. And I think there's some clear answers that they're not just on the rugby field, but they're also off the rugby field. I think that's what everyone has to admit and has to put their hands up and accept.
Well, before we get to what's going to happen next week and how the Boks need to lift themselves up for that last game and reflect after the season on what to go do forward. One man, Jean, again today stood up, their captain, Sergio Parisse. What a day for him. He was absolutely outstanding, leading his team to victory. And, you know, it's a day that he's going to certainly remember for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he will. And we said before, and a lot of the good that they do is around him and what he does. So he really is an inspirational captain, and they certainly followed today. So, yeah, look, he was great, and we need to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on.
I wanted to write.
Let's just move on,
It really is heavy in the studio today. Gentlemen,
But
how do we
the
pick
problem
ourselves
is,
up now?
I'll be amazed. Hopefully there's still people watching this show, because I really feel for the South African supporter. I feel desperately for the guy who actually week in and week out is so looking forward to the possibility that the team is going to go out and make him proud. And it's been a really tough year for that guy. For you guys watching out there, you know, I feel really, really sorry for them. Those are the guys that support the South African franchises week in and week out. Yeah. They're the guys who support the Springboks week in and week out. And they really deserve better than this. They really do.
But Nick, seriously, okay, you coached there, I played there for 6 years. I told you, I was looking forward to this game because I really thought today we will really settle and say, okay. But what a disappointment after 80 minutes. And, you know, going forward now, what do? I think what you do is you think, okay, that didn't work. Maybe 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 new guys. And let's just go into Wales and surprise everybody. But this is sad to see. This is really sad.
Brayton, final thoughts?
Yeah, what do I say? It's been tough, and I know the boys will be hurting. But, you know, there's one more game to play for. And like Nick said, you know, a Springbok supporter doesn't deserve this, and we need to turn it around somehow. But at least, you know, it was a rude awakening once again, and we can only hope that the guys can turn it around in the last game.
Sean, last words.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing. And I think us as former Springboks, you know, you sort of take responsibility for it in a way as well. But I think the whole nation is sad today. We feel sad with the Boks, and we need to change. So hopefully we can get the change going quicker rather than later.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here in studio. Jean, Nick, Nas and Brayton. Unfortunately, not good news for Springbok supporters today. And it is, unfortunately, another loss for the Springboks. But next week is a chance at redemption as they take on Wales. And hopefully, this panel will be all smiles then. Thank you also so much for joining us. Have a good evening. Good night.
Met